in which our lovers begin to learn the consequences of their actions. Chapter 2. In the first days of June, it so happened that the nurse and housekeeper, Agafya Mikhailovna, while carrying a jar of freshly pickled mushrooms to the cellar, slipped, fell, and dislocated her wrist. The district doctor came, a talkative young man who had just finished his studies. He examined the wrist, said it was not dislocated, applied compresses, and, having stayed for dinner, obviously enjoyed conversing with the famous Sergei Ivanovich Koznishev, and to show his enlightened view of things, told him all the local gossip, complaining about the bad state of Zemstvo affairs. Sergei Ivanovich listened attentively, asked questions, and, excited to have a new listener, talked a lot and produced several apt and weighty observations, respectfully appreciated by the young doctor, and recovered the animated state of mind so familiar to his brother, to which he was usually brought by a brilliant and lively conversation. After the doctor's departure, Sergei Ivanovich expressed a wish to go to the river with a fishing rod. He liked fishing, and seemed to take pride in being able to like such a stupid occupation. Konstantin Levin, who had to go to the ploughing in the meadows, volunteered to take his brother in the cabriolet. It was that time of year, the turning point of summer, when the harvest of the current year is assured, when concerns about the sowing for the year to come begin, and the mowing is at hand, when the rye has all come into ear, and its gray-green, unswollen, still light ears sway in the wind, when green oats with clumps of yellow grass scattered among them thrust themselves unevenly amidst the late-sown crops, when the early buckwheat is already bushing out, covering the ground, when the fallow fields are half-ploughed, leaving the cattle paths beaten down hard as stone, which the plough could not break up, when crusted-over heaps of dung give off their smell at dawn and sunset together with the honeyed grasses, and in the bottoms, awaiting the scythe, the intact meadows stand in an unbroken sea, with blackening piles of weeded sorrel stalks here and there. It was that time when a short break comes in the farm work, before the beginning of the harvest, annually repeated and annually calling on all the strength of the peasantry. The crops were excellent, and clear, hot summer days set in, with short, dewy nights. The brothers had to pass through a wood in order to reach the meadows. Sergei Ivanovich kept admiring the beauty of the wood, overgrown with leaves, pointing out to his brother now an old linden, dark on its shady side, rippling with yellow stipules and ready to flower. Now the brilliant emerald of that year's young shoots on the trees. Konstantin Levin did not like talking or hearing about the beauty of nature. For him, words took away the beauty of what he saw. He agreed with his brother, but involuntarily began thinking of other things. When they reached the other side of the wood, all his attention was absorbed by the sight of a fallow field on a hillock, in some places yellow with grass, in others trodden down and cut crisscross, or dotted with heaps, or even ploughed under. A file of carts moved across the field. Levin counted the carts and was pleased that they were bringing out all that was necessary, and at the sight of the meadows his thoughts turned to the mowing. He always experienced something that especially touched him to the quick during the haymaking. Driving up to the meadow, Levin stopped the horse. The morning dew lingered below in the thick undergrowth of the grass, and Sergei Ivanovitch, to avoid getting his feet wet, asked to be taken across the meadow in the cabriolet to that willow bush where the perch took the bait so well. Sorry as Konstantin Levin was to crush his grass, he drove into the meadow. The tall grass softly twined around the wheels and the horse's legs, leaving its seeds on the wet spokes and hubs. His brother sat down under the bush, sorting his fishing rods, while Levin led the horse away, tied it up, and went into the enormous gray-green sea of the meadow, unstirred by the wind. The silky grass with its ripening seeds reached his waist in the places flooded in spring. Cutting across the meadow, Konstantin Levin came out on the road and met an old man with a swollen eye, carrying a hive of bees. "Did you catch it, Fomitch?" he asked. "Catch it, Konstantin Dmitritch? I'll be happy to keep the one I have. It's the second time a swarm got away. Thanks be, the boys rode after it. Yours are plowing. They unhitched a horse and rode after it. Well, what do you say, Fomitch? Shall we mow or wait?" "There now. We'd say wait till St. Peter's, but you always mow earlier. Why not? The grass is fine, thank God. The cattle will have plenty. And the weather? What do you think?" "That's God's doing. Maybe this weather will hold." Levin went back to his brother. He had caught nothing, but Sergei Ivanovitch was not bored, and seemed in the most cheerful spirits. Levin saw that he had been stirred by the conversation with the doctor, and wanted to talk. Levin, on the contrary, wanted to get home quickly, to arrange for mowers to be called in by tomorrow, and resolve the doubt concerning the mowing, which greatly preoccupied him. "Let's go, then," he said. "What's the hurry? Let's sit here. How soaked you are!" "I'm not catching anything, but it's nice here. Any hunting is good, and that you have to do with nature. This steely water is so lovely," he said. "Those meadows along the bank," he went on, "always remind me of a riddle. Do you know it? The grass says to the water, 'We'll sway and sway.'" "I don't know that riddle," Levin replied glumly. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe, and return tomorrow for the next chapter.